Welcome to Running on Empty, the podcast with the goal to get you out the door and running, even when you're running on empty. I'm your host, Ashley Cahart.
And I'm your co-host, Camilla Randall.
And this week is a great topic. I'm so excited to get into it, which is, should I run a marathon?
Probably yes.
Probably yes. The reason that we wanted to do this topic now, because it's the middle of summer and people are going, well, it's not really marathon season, but a lot of the big marathons, you have to get ready a year ahead of time. You might have to go in for a lottery. There's lots of stuff that you're thinking about a lot earlier than when you actually start training for the marathon. So we thought it would be great time to talk about our experiences running our first marathons, because then if you see something in there that sounds interesting and it motivates you, you could be planning to run your 2027 marathon.
Yes. And then also ahead in the future, we will have an episode about running your first 5K. But we're just starting with this because, as Ashley said, it's a good time to think about the future. Also, we should make a calendar on our website of when to think about each marathon, when to sign up. Because I always miss the registration times of the big ones.
Yeah, and it's really hard, especially with the European ones. Most marathons tend to be in the spring. So like March, April, May, or then they're in the fall, like September, October. But there are some ones that are like in December, like in Spain, Valencia is in December, for example. But yeah, you have to like kind of get ahead and be thinking about it early. Also too, are you going to travel for one? Are you going to do one locally? Which are kind of things we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right. Perfect. But first, maybe a little bit just about our week of running. So how was your running this week, Camilla?
My running was fine. It was a cool thing happened at work that in September, there's this Vilnius Marathon that has all these other distances, and I'm running a 5K there.
I'm running a half.
Nice. And most of my team at work signed up for the 5K.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Most of them are doing a little bit of a competition against each other, and they're doing different methods. One of them is just like increasing the amount of minutes he runs every day, and that's the only thing he's tracking, the minutes, and he just does a little bit more every day.
Is he running every single day?
I don't know. I think so. Maybe.
Wow, okay.
But he's doing also other things like strength training, but like that's his method. Another one, we helped me and another colleague that I also advertised Rana to him. So we both are Rana advocates. So we pushed the third one that also signed up for the 5K to get Rana and register. He used my code, Rana, if you hear us.
Yeah, we're still here. We love you. Sponsor us. Hi.
Yeah, so he set up an account. He did like the Run the First 5K program. And his initial goal was like, I'll do it at a 5 minutes per kilometer pace.
Oh, wow. Ambitious.
Now I think he slowed down a little bit. But like he did his first interval session and it was strong. I think he might be able to do the 5.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the third one is doing like completely unmeasured. Like everything is just like old school, like running.
But he's just going for a run.
He's just going for a run.
Nice.
And so they're all going to compete. And there's more people that signed up, but these are the 3 main characters. And so it's quite interesting to see. And it kind of like motivated me to run more as well. Like, it's fun. It's competitive. And I'm not competing with them, but it's still kind of cool. And so I started running a little bit more. I actually I'm not missing any of my runs anymore. The problem is my knee started hurting because I'm not missing any more of my runs, because I also cycle and it just adds up. But I know what it is. It has happened a year ago. It's because my quad is too tense and I have been not very good at doing mobility and rolling after running.
Yeah.
So I have to go back to that.
Yeah, because there's that dreaded thing that people always say when they can't run, or they don't run rather, they go, oh, my knees hurt. And then you just want to scream at them and go, that's not true. Like it's your knees hurt because of something else. Like if you just worked on whatever the other thing is, some people that's like quads or maybe their hips or even other things, it's like, that's why your knees hurt. Your knees don't hurt from running. Your knees hurt because other things are not strong and your knees are taking over when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's some kind of a disbalance. For me, it took a long time to find what the problem was. Like I had an MRI of the knee itself, and then I had to go to a few different physios, and I did this like running test in this orthopedic studio where you run barefoot on a treadmill, and they scan your feet when you do it, and then you run with your running shoes. And my problem was that my left glutes are quite weak, then my leg moves to the side more, and then like because the glute is weak, then the quad overcompensates and whatever. But just like it took me a long time to figure out what the problem is. But yes, usually it is not the knee itself that is the problem.
So you know what to work on now, and you can improve it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how was your running week?
Well, a bit difficult. Like I'm in a training plan, so like basically there's in most training plans what you'll have like 3 weeks of hard work and then a 4th week where it's a little less, like a deload week. And I find that as we're getting later into training programs, when I'm at that like 3rd week before the deload, I can really struggle sometimes. It can get really difficult because that means that I'm going for longer distances. It's the longest distances that I've gone for that week in, say, like 2 months. So it's been a struggle. And then also with the weather, like, you know, I've been talking about it's so on and off. It's like 20, it's 30, it's 20, it's 30. And I went for a tempo session the other day. So if someone doesn't know what a tempo session would be, I was doing over-unders, which means that you run 1K a little slower than your target pace for your race, and then you run 1K a bit faster than your target pace.
Without resting.
Without resting, yeah.
Which is a fartlek.
Kind of like a fartlek, yeah. You just go back and forth with this tempo. So I said, okay, so I had a warm-up of like 2.5. I went and did that really. I made sure I did it slow because I knew it was hot. And then also I knew that I was going to be working really hard. So when I know I'm going to work really hard, I really take the warm up easy. And I was looking at the paces it was giving me. And I have to say, Rana, all the time will have paces it gives me. And I look at it and I go, in your dreams. There's no way. There's no way I'm doing what you said I'm going to do. There's no way. And I always do it. I always manage to do it. I say always, but now I'm going to say something that is not an always kind of feeling one.
Every rule has to have exceptions.
Yeah. So I was doing the over-unders and, it was times 3. So I would do 6K of this. And, I did the first one. I could barely hold on for the slower one. So I could barely hold on, but I was just managing it. And then I was supposed to run 30 seconds faster per kilometer for a kilometer. And I just thought like, okay, let's go. We're going to do this. And I put on like my, confident runner's hat, and I started going. It wasn't happening. Like my Garmin was beeping at me that I wasn't getting there. And I usually just try to ignore that. Cause sometimes too, if you're like running through, in a woodsy area, it doesn't actually pick up your exact pace and stuff. It doesn't know. And then when I got to the end of the kilometer, it was 10 seconds too slow. So then I went back to the other one.
But 10 seconds is allowed, right? Like 10 seconds is still in the range because usually it's like if you have to do a 5:30 pace, the actual guidance is from 5:10 to 5:30 or something
yeah,
like that.
But it gives you like a target number.
And so, you want to do that number.
So if I'm supposed to do 5:15, I want it to be 5:15, not 5:25 or whatever that, I'm just making up numbers. But it was 10 seconds too slow. I said, it's okay. Like, it's hot. Just, go back to the slightly slower,
So then you still had, 2
full sets. Yeah. So then I went into I did the over, right? The slower part. I did the next over and then I went to do the under and it was just, there was no way. Like, there was no way. I was like 10, 15, sometimes I was 20 seconds below. And so I just thought like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I just decided, like, look, we're not going to give up. You're just going to run as fast as you can, right? And it's not like that fast as you can, like when you're like trying to beat someone in a race. I was just like, you're just going to go as fast as you know you can for a kilometer. Just go as fast as you possibly can. Don't worry about beeping. If we go too fast, not that we would, if we go too fast, that's amazing too. Just go as fast as you can. I tried again. I also was like 10, 12 seconds below what I should have been. Did the 3rd rep. went out again, like 15 seconds below. Couldn't do it at all. So then I had my walk, my lovely 150-second, I like how they write it like that, 150-second break. And then I took like a slow, run home. And so then when I went on my Strava, I called it my Temu tempo because it didn't feel like a real tempo. It's just from Temu.
But it was. Sometimes I love run up, but sometimes it gives you a bit of it gives you a problem because oftentimes when you train tempo runs or whatever, you train heart rate zones or you train your perceived effort. With Rana, it's exact paces, which is sometimes easier because you push for that pace. But then if you can't do it because of all these multiple conditions that are in your environment,
but you can
your
switch it to RPE.
Yeah, you can.
You can switch it to RPE. So I think mentally I switched it to RPE. Yeah. I just went to like run as fast as you can, which at that pace would be probably in my mind like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's just go as fast as we can, and just get through it. But in the end, I'm like, okay, you still went out and did it.
Yeah, you still did it and you still did great. I even screenshotted your run and I sent it to you and was like, great job. You did it.
Actually, when you sent me that screenshot, I didn't know it was my own splits. I was like, is that mine? Is she sending me hers and telling me she did a great job, or is she sending me mine? Because our paces on Speedy Sessions are kind of similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, is she saying she did a good job and she's proud of herself, or I did a good job? So I had to go onto Strava and check to see what it was, because I honestly couldn't remember.
Yeah. So your paces were a lot better than you thought.
Yeah. So I don't know, but you know what? It's about getting the run done and pushing through, and it's not pain, like we've talked in previous episodes about like what is pain when you're running. It's not actual pain. It's like discomfort. And that's the whole point, right? Is that like you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's how you get better and how it brings so many other gains to your life. Like that episode we just did about secret gains that we got from running. So I don't know. I think it's okay.
I agree.
So we want to talk about running your first marathon. I'm out. Wow. I don't know about you, but if you said to me even 2 years ago that I would have run 2 marathons now, I would have thought you were totally insane.
How long ago did you do your first one?
I did my first marathon in October of 2024.
And then your second one
was May of this year, so May 2026. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, seemed like a dream.
I mean, I honestly, I would say up until 3 years ago, I wouldn't even see how I could run a half marathon. And now I run a half marathon any other Saturday.
Yeah, while training for the marathon. Yeah, when you train for the marathon, you do a half marathon every week, at least.
At least. But we don't want to scare people. But so we thought that we would today kind of just talk about our stories of running our first marathons and how that went. So, but first, I mentioned when mine was. When was your marathon?
Yeah, so I've run one so far, and I did it in this April 2026.
I remember actually, because I remember in the fall of last year asking you, I didn't say where your marathon was. I said, when was your marathon? And you told me, and I thought you were running London.
Yeah, I guess it's the same
said,
weekend.
No, actually.
It's Kaunas.
It's Kaunas, Lithuania.
Yeah.
But what made you decide to run Kaunas Marathon in the first place?
Well, I didn't want to do my first marathon away from home in general. I didn't want to travel anywhere because I don't know, I didn't want to not sleep in my own bed, not be in my own country, because a marathon in itself is so stressful. So adding all these other extra things that come with travel and then being in a different country, you walk more, these conditions, I didn't want to go away. I wanted it to be in Lithuania. I didn't want to do it in Vilnius because Vilnius is too hilly and there's this infamous hill, Tauro Hill, that everyone has to go on it. And I was just like, no, thank you. And then I listened to this other podcast in Lithuanian about running, and they talked about how great Kaunas Marathon is, that it's almost as good as the international marathon, not really, but close enough to international marathons, and their track is quite flat, and they they had a good persistent beforehand. So I was like, okay, so if I have to do one close to home, Kaunas is 100 kilometers away from Vilnius. And I was like, okay, I'll just do that. And what made me sign up is that I was walking. I remember very well that I was walking from the dentist and I turned on Instagram, and then Instagram gave me a ad of Kaunas Marathon being 10 euros off registration. It was last September.
It's a sign. It's a deal.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I gotta sign up. And I just did. And it was, yeah, I signed up in September. So it was more than 26 weeks away.
Yes, you had a while away.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you wanted to have a comfortable experience, right? Like close to home.
Yeah.
No wild variables, nothing
no
out of
travel,
the ordinary.
No jet lag. Like I just wanted it to be as little change as possible because the marathon itself is already such a big stressor. But you did it very differently, didn't you?
Not very differently. I did like you go, where's flat? I need to run somewhere flat. You know where it's flat? The Netherlands. The Netherlands are nice and flat. So I ran Eindhoven 2024, and it was the 40th anniversary one. So it was a big one, and they had 40,000 runners, but that included people who ran 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, also like a kids mini marathon. So it wasn't 40,000 marathon runners, but I decided to do that one because I wanted the excitement of it. I wanted to be somewhere where it implied that there would be lots of cheering. That was really important for me.
Yeah, I did not think about that, and I kind of regret that a little bit.
Yeah, like I wanted there to be lots of people. I wanted the energy. Like I wanted a kind of Instagram-y experience in that respect. Because I just didn't know what to expect from myself, you know, but, I went with friends because they had used to live there. And so we actually had a free place to stay. But the place we were going to stay, we would be cat sitting while we were there. I'm allergic to cats.
No.
So I was really nervous.
Yeah.
So what I did was, I booked a hotel for marathon night just in case.
Separately.
Just in case. And I had one that I could cancel. So if I was having problems with the cat, I knew marathon night, I could just leave them all and go stay at the hotel, which my friend was like totally like, yeah, that's understandable. Like I don't blame you for it at all. Turns out it was fine. Everything was okay, but, we just made sure the cat didn't go into my room. But I was set up with some people and I like had a plan. I signed up for mine also in, I want to say, at the summer. I think mine was a really long way away as well.
You know what's a little bit funny? That you have told me that you've ran Eindhoven multiple times before. Every single time you said it, I heard in my head, Edinburgh. And only now that you explicitly said the Netherlands, I was like, oh, it's not Edinburgh.
Oh no, definitely was not there. It was in the Netherlands. So you had a good amount of time before it. What was your training plan like? So did you use Runna for that as well?
I did use Runna, and I wanted to start training right away after signing up, but Runna didn't allow me. They were like, this is too long of a plan. You'll get fatigued. Like it's too much. So you'll push too hard. So then I had to wait 3 weeks, I think, until I could do it. And then
how long was your plan?
I don't remember.
Did you do a 20 week?
I think it was more. I think it was 23 weeks. I don't remember exactly the numbers, unfortunately, but it ended up quite fine because I needed to get teeth surgery and then I couldn't work out for 2 weeks anyway. So then I rested for the 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks were gone, I could work out again, and then my run-up plan could start. And that's how I did it. I think I started training beginning of October, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the average person's marathon training plan, it really depends on your base before that. If you've been running for a while, you could do a plan at the minimum 12 weeks. I think 16 weeks is the most common marathon training plan for people. However, if you are a bit newer to running, it's totally normal to do like a 20-week plan. You could even do like a 24-week plan if you really wanted to. But yeah, like Camilla, you're right. Like, you don't want to be pushing yourself too much in the build up to that. So maybe, just keeping your runs going, maybe slowly increasing your mileage before the plan starts. My plan was a 20-week plan. No, I'm sorry. No, this one was a 16-week plan. My second marathon was a 20-week plan. And the reason I'll mention that is because, it was January 1st was like the first week. And I just thought, yeah, why not? Let's just get started.
Very symbolic.
Yeah. Like I'll just go for it. But like doing 16 weeks is probably the norm for most people.
I guess you don't get as much fatigued from all the training.
Yeah.
Although you do need some base, because when I signed up, for my marathon, I have just finished a half marathon. Like I was already running quite a lot, and then I had a little bit of a break, and then I did the marathon training beginning.
Yeah, I was the same. I ran the Vilnius half marathon. It was my first official race, anything before.
Half marathon? The first half?
Yeah, in Lithuania. It was my first one here in Lithuania.
I didn't know that.
Prior to that, in the States, I had run an 8K. And I had
weird distance.
Yeah. And I ran, Broad Street. Broad Street is a Philadelphia run where you run from the top northmost point of Broad Street, which goes through, the center of the city. It would be like 14th Street if you were going on the numbers. So you go from the top to the bottom and it's 10 miles. So 16 kilometers. So those were the only things that I had run prior to running the half in Vilnius. And then I thought, yeah, it kind of gave me that feeling like maybe I could run a marathon. So I went for it. I also use Runna on mine. I like that you can dial back how hard you want to push.
Yeah.
Also, it asks you what are your estimated times for things right now? So I thought that was really helpful too. So it can help you kind of build a plan that's sensible.
Yeah.
And then also if it becomes too hard, you can kind of dial it back.
Yeah. One thing that I was allowed to do that I probably shouldn't have been allowed to do with customizing my plan was that, so when I started running, I didn't run for 2 weeks, and then I went back into running, and I didn't want to get injured. And prior, when I started running too many times a week too soon, I got injured. So I was like, okay, I'll start with just 2 runs a week, because also I was still cycling at the time. It was still early autumn, and then I never dialed back to more than 2 runs a week. I did my whole marathon training with 2 runs a week. So it would be like a tempo 7 on Wednesday and 29 on Saturday.
Wow. So would you say that was the hardest part, is actually only running twice a week?
I mean, it wasn't hard in the training, because, my legs weren't that tired. Most of the time I would get 2 or 3 days of rest before one run or the other run. The problem was that I still think that you need a lot more mileage to prepare for the marathon completely. And I do wonder how my marathon would have gone if I prepared as you're supposed to and not as I did.
Yeah, I would say that most people, from what I hear, most people that are training for a marathon run 3 days, maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the most common amounts. I think
you do a easy run, you do a speed run, and you do a long run.
Yeah, exactly. You get them all in, because you 100% have to have a long run every week, 100%. And the speedy thing is really where you kind of build up, for that pace that you're going to want to run the marathon at. So you do need it. So I think a lot of people 3 or 4. If you had looked back, would you have wanted to run 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I would have definitely wanted to do at least 3, probably 4. I kind of did 3 sometimes. Sometimes I would go, when I go to the gym, I would go on the treadmill for 15 minutes, because I used to run with Nike Run Club app, and I used to love, because every Monday it would give you it was a recovery run that was always 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was like a wake up the week kind of thing, right?
Get out the door, do a little run, come back home. And I loved it. It used to make me feel so good and motivated to run, because it would get you out, it would give you the endorphins, but it wouldn't exhaust you. And I just kind of incorporated it into my life. And whenever I would go to the gym, if I had the time, I would go on the treadmill and run for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think if there's anybody we love more than runner, it's Coach Bennett. Yeah,
biggest fans.
The motivation, right, that comes with it. Yeah, I think that's really nice. I run 5 days a week, which I did at that time as well. My deload weeks maybe would put me at 4 days a week, so it's not very often. But I found, that like I would sometimes struggle with it. Over time, I've learned that a really important skill for myself anyway with long distance running, like on a race, is really building up a mileage in my weeks. So when I ran Eindhoven, I really and we'll talk about it in a minute, like we'll actually talk about the race itself. I had struggles that I think maybe I wouldn't have had if I had still been able to build my mileage up even more. Now that's staying with running 5 days a week.
What was your mileage at the time?
I was probably running like 40, 45K a week. While now, if I was going to do a marathon training, I'd probably run 60 or 70. I mean, this is because I've built up my strength over years. I don't want anyone to think that they're expected to run any kind of those distances. I think if you run, like you said, if you run like 30K a week, which is like one long run and one speed session, I also think that's like totally doable. It just is down to like what kind of goal you're trying to achieve with the race. Like, are you trying to get a certain time? But if you're just there to like, for the vibes, which I think honestly you should be doing on your first marathon anyway, like you should go for it.
That was also one of the reasons why I decided to do a marathon, because I have just done the half one and I felt quite disappointed with my pace, and it made sense because I didn't prepare for it well and it was real hot on the day and many excuses, but I just kind of felt disappointed, and I then felt disappointed that I felt disappointed, because that's not the point of running. It's you just enjoy yourself, you do this fun thing, you do this hard thing, and I still did I did a half marathon PR on that disappointed race, and I still was like, no, this is bad. So then that's why I wanted to do a marathon in general, so that it would be like no expectations. So I would just, the goal would be just to do it. And of course, my brain still kind of got goals that I built up in my brain, but still the main thing was like, I have never done this before. I don't know what to expect. I have to just enjoy this.
And it is 100% guaranteed it will be hard. It will be hard. You will survive, but it will be hard. And for some people, it will be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And that's not a bad thing. It really isn't. It can really take a lot out of you, which we'll talk about that again too in a minute. But let's kind of move forward a little bit. Going into race week, how were you planning? Like, how did you feel going into race week? The last 2 weeks before a marathon, you go into the taper, which means that you significantly cut back on the amount of running you were doing. So imagine that, I don't know, on the first of the month, you ran 32 kilometers for your last big hurrah of a push before. And then suddenly the next weekend you go for a long run and it's 12 or it's 8, and it's like nothing in comparison, and you don't know what to do with yourself.
I remember very well that, so I had the 33 or whatever run, and then the next week it was the beginning of the deload, but the beginning of the deload isn't yet 12, it's 21. The first week after, the biggest one is a half marathon, and I remember thinking, just a half marathon? Easy.
You gaslight yourself into thinking that these are nothing distances.
But it wasn't like, it was at that point, it was such a relief to do a half marathon only, you know? I think in general that my body is mostly like fit for a half marathon, but it was such a relief to do these small air quotes weeks. The problem for me was that I got sick. I got sick a week and a half before my marathon, and when it came actually to the marathon, I was still sick, like kind of recovering, but still like a little bit foggy and stuff. So that was not fun and a little disappointing, but we survived.
I worried about that too with travel.
Like
because we arrived there on Wednesday and the race was Sunday, and I was thinking to myself, like on the airplane, like, oh, no. I don't want to get sick from any of these people on this airplane. And I kept thinking, well, what's the incubation period? Maybe it'll be fine. Like maybe I won't get sick till the day after the race. It'll be fine. But it's stuff you think about too. And like, who you're around, what you're doing, who are you meeting, what about like diet? What were you doing? Were you carb loading that week?
Yeah, I was carb loading quite intensely, and I was also dialing down on fiber. I have a very sensitive stomach, so because of that, I had to think about what I eat very, very carefully because I didn't want to have any accidents on the marathon. And I'm also lactose intolerant. So I think 3 days before the marathon itself, I started reading every single label. Apparently, even crisps like chips, potato chips, have milk in them, some kind of lactose. So my nutrition was very limited. And the night before we went out for pasta, and I looked to a pasta restaurant that had 20 different types of pasta. I looked through the menu. I could have one specific pasta that didn't have any of the things that could like make me in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, no. I actually, for my first marathon week, I don't think I carb loaded enough. I think, I didn't think that big of a deal of it. And then, so when the second one came around, I was doing it a lot more, which isn't that you're eating a lot more food. It's just that you're basically eating carbs for everything. If you normally would have breakfast, you'd have like, kind of a balanced meal. No, you're going to have a bunch of toast, or you're going to have, porridge or something
semolina,
like that.
Yeah, semolina was my go-to.
Yeah. And you're going to have for dinner, you're going to have a tiny piece of chicken and a big bowl of rice, and
you so limit your protein and your fats.
Yeah, you kind of like play around with it. So I think I learned that, it was difficult. Also, it's just kind of strange too, because you're thinking like, if you have that imposter syndrome about running a marathon, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't carbo load. Like, I'm not good enough to carbo load.
Yeah, like I'm a little bit ashamed to like say out loud that I'm carb loading because who am I to carb load? Right?
Yeah, but it really does help, you know? So, okay, so you wanted to be local. So did you drive to the race in the morning, or what did you do?
No, we ended up renting a little apartment next to the race because the race was starting at 8, I think, in the morning. And so to drive there, it would still be an hour. So we decided still to sleep over somewhere. And it was not too bad, but like, still not my own bed. But I took melatonin before bed. I took magnesium, some sleepy tea. So I slept fine. I just had a stuffy nose, so that was making me not sleep so well because of the sickness.
But they say like, just assume you will not sleep well the night before. Like all of the sleep that you got the weeks before, that's the sleep that you've built on.
Yeah.
And that night, like if you get some sleep, that's good. And if not, it's fine. I was kind of similar. So, cause I was sleeping on an air mattress, which was very comfortable actually for an air mattress. I'm not complaining, but it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
And it was somewhere else. So it was a bit strange, and then when I woke up in the morning, I had to leave early, and get an Uber over near the race. And, my friends weren't up yet. And, so it was a bit kind of like quiet and me just going off to the race myself.
Oh man, I wish they woke up with you. That would have been nicer.
Oh, I felt kind of guilty because they were going to have to follow me around at the race the whole day. So I didn't want to, but even when you get there, you have to get there so early to these races.
Yeah.
And you need to be prepared. So, and I felt underdressed. I wish I'd had more clothing because they recommend, something that you're willing to throw away, like a sweatshirt or something like that. I thought better on my second marathon and I brought a sweater. But the first one, I only had like a really thin shirt and I was freezing and I was hiding between cars, that were like parked in a lot next to the start entrance. And a lot of people were doing that because we were all so cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful that my husband went with me and he, like, of course, we stayed over together. And so he woke up with me in the morning and he went to me to the start line and he just had this big jacket for me. So I wore it because it was, I think, -2 degrees in the morning. It was very cold and my running outfit was shorts and a long sleeve shirt, but nothing underneath the long sleeve shirt. So I was freezing.
Yeah.
But I think also like the adrenaline for like the scaries for the race, it also warmed me up a little bit too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot going on, but yeah, it is cold and like, because you're dressed for running 42K, not for standing around.
But you get to stand around quite a lot.
So once it got started, how was the course for you? You mentioned that there weren't a lot of people cheering. Describe the full course, like in a couple words, how you felt.
Now I'm gonna sound very, very bitter because I was promised a good course.
Yeah.
And then I think like a week or something before the marathon, they emailed us of like, because of the road reconstructions in the city, we have changed the course. And the course sucked. It really sucked. And it objectively sucked. I'm not just being like, oh, my time isn't as I expected it to be, and that's why it sucked. No, like I've heard multiple people say that it was the worst track Konrad has ever offered. So it was flat most of the time, but then there were multiple parts where you had to go past like roadworks, and it had gravel and sand and all these other unstable surfaces for quite some time. At one point, it was this like beach sand kind of distance next to, on one side it's a grassy field, and on the other one is a construction fence, so you don't have anywhere to escape from it. And I was running with road shoes. Everyone was running with road shoes, so your ankles kind of slip to the side. You don't have any grip, so that was exhausting. And then it went into this city park that was an older kind of city park, so it was concrete paths most of the time. Some of them were like off-road paths. There were some of that, but very little. But then, because it's an old park, so first of all, it's a little bit like hilly. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was around at 30 kilometers when you're already tired. But also, like, you couldn't just like relax and run because it had tree roots growing through the concrete. So it had these like bumps and sticks on it. And it wasn't a place where you can relax whilst running.
Is this where it started to snow?
No, it started to snow before that. So yes, that is also something I want to complain about. It is not the fault of the organizers, so this is a different category of beeps. But yes, the weather was insane. When we started, it was sunny. And then so as soon as I started running, I was warm enough, and I was even like a little hot, so it was fine. And then I think maybe 13, 14 kilometers in, it started to snow a little, and then it started to be a blizzard, and then there was a little bit of hail. At one point, I remember one segment I was running, and there was this, because there were security guards all over, and the security guard was holding the fence with his body for wind to not blow it away. And I was the only one running past him, because at that point, like, everyone has, like, it wasn't a big race, so a lot of the time I was just by myself, and I was running by myself, and he just looked at me and he tipped up his hat. I'm like, respect, lady. So there was a blizzard, which was awful. There was a lot of rain. Then the sun came back. Then it was really windy. Then it was a blizzard again. So the weather was not great. The track wasn't very nice. And then also my biggest beef is that they didn't have enough toilets or water stations. The toilets were every 6 kilometers, around 6 kilometers, which I think is not often enough. And then it would be like one toilet.
Yeah.
And then if you gotta go then you have to wait in line. So overall, 2 out of 10.
So it was a small race. Do you know how many people ran it?
No, I don't remember. Oh yeah, and then yes, the cheering part. I also wanted people to cheer, and that was not the case. Like in the beginning, there were people there when we started running, but then as soon as you leave the start line, no one is there.
Yeah.
From time to time, you get little islands of people that are there to cheer, but those islands are cheering specifically for the people that they are cheering for. Like they're waiting for some person. Yeah, they're not cheering for you when you run past. And that was constant. Like, you would run past people and they would just look at you, and that's it. Like,
that's so funny, because as a spectator, because I was there for you, I felt the opposite. I felt so guilty. I cheered for everybody, and I would be waiting at some landmark for you, and I don't know exactly when you're coming, and I'm just clapping for every person for like 20 minutes, because I just felt so bad that I didn't want people, because it was kind of quiet. But if that's your thing, a small marathon might be for you, because some people actually do like that kind of reflective quiet. Because you also said too that you were kind of alone a lot of the time. How was that?
I did the illegal thing and I listened to music, so I really didn't care about that too much.
Oh, okay, because your race, you were able to listen to music.
I mean, officially now. Officially in the rules it said no headphones, but the race is so small, so most of the time you're by yourself. Why, I just listened to the music and I didn't mind. I mean, I ran my last half marathon in a crowd of people. Like my pace was exactly as everyone else. So I was just like always in this huge crowd, and I didn't love it. Like I felt like claustrophobic a little bit at times when there were bottlenecks. Here I was by myself all the time, which I would have preferred some people, from time to time. And I would catch up to some people, especially the last 3 kilometers. I started catching all these people that were walking. But, like I prefer a little bit more.
Yeah. In Eindhoven, there was a good amount of people.
Yeah.
So you kind of leave the center of the city and you go running out. And I felt like I was among other people for most of the race. I tried sticking with a pace group. There was one section where you did this kind of funny little loop where you, around 30 or 31K, you went in and did this loop through this like area that there wasn't really a lot back there. And it was very quiet. So like not amazing. I did have music. You were allowed to listen to headphones. So I did have that, but, I had other problems at that point, which we can talk about in a minute with what comes with like gels and nutrition and things. But we had a decent amount of people throughout it, which I thought was really nice to have. And for me, it motivated me. I wanted to be around people.
Yeah. And how was the weather?
The weather was trying because it was 10 degrees, which is normally optimal running weather.
Yeah, it's great.
But the problem was that we had really, really heavy winds. So you would be running and it would be fine because it would be against your back. And a lot of this race was like one direction turn. So you'd suddenly turn and you'd feel like you're in a wind tunnel for 2K. And I wore shorts and I wore a long sleeve top, and it wasn't enough at times. So I was actually really cold, which I was surprised by because I'm a pretty hot runner. Like I don't get cold very often. I struggled with it. It was difficult. But it was cloudy the whole time, which is actually also nice running weather. Like you want it to be sunny because you want it to be beautiful and look really nice. But at the same time, you kind of want it to be cloudy because the sun is intense,
Yeah. I guess if it's 10 degrees and windy, sun is fine. But sun oftentimes on my marathon, the sun was too hot when the sun was out, which was ironic because when it was a blizzard, it was too cold.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you had very unique, well, let's just say very, very unique conditions unless you're Lithuanian. And then you would be like, sounds like a regular Sunday to me.
Sounds like spring.
Yeah. Like, it's fine. But, if you're from other places, yeah, you would think it was a bit crazy.
I am from Lithuania and I think it was a little bit crazy too. A little bit too many different scenarios happening at once.
So now let's talk about the end, like the last couple K, right? You've run 40 kilometers now. How are you feeling? Like, were your gels and things working for you? How was it with the approach to that end and knowing you're going to finish?
Yeah. So I had a bit of an issue with gels. Half of the race I took Mortens, and then the second I went to Never Seconds, and the Never Seconds started to upset my stomach. So when it was coming to the last couple kilometers, I needed to do a gel. I don't know, like maybe 3 or 4 kilometers until the end, and I just decided not to because every single time I took the Never Second, I had to go to the bathroom immediately after that, and I was like, I just don't want to do this. I'll run on empty. And
trademark now.
But so the last 2 or 3 kilometers, it was a straight in the city, and you could see for a long time. The problem was it was really, really windy. But because you could see far away, I started seeing all these people that I was catching on to, and a lot of them were walking because of the wind. So I got this second wind because I was like, it's just 2 kilometers.
The wind gave you a second wind.
All these ones. And the thing in my head that pushed me was, I will never have to do this again. I have to just do this 2 kilometers and then I'm done. And I will never do this again, which now I think different. But at that point, that was
I can't wait to talk about after the race. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my strategy was I'll run to the person that's like the next one. I run to them. I run a little bit behind them to rest from the wind. Then I overtake and I run to the next one.
Use them as like a drag.
Yeah, but just like for a little bit, because like most of them were walking, so it was hard to, like, you couldn't just like run behind someone. And I just kind of like, I felt energized. I took someone by the hand, like some guy was like, no, let's go, let's do it. And I just got motivated. And then 200 meters, I think, till the finish, there was the infamous ramp.
Oh, yeah. This is horrible.
So for people that are not from Lithuania, everyone from Lithuania will understand. But for people that are not from Lithuania, Kaunas is a city that loves its cars. And even in a marathon setting, in a celebration of sports, they do not want to close the road because, the cars won't be able to go. So instead of closing the road, they do this solution, 200 meters till the finish, after you run 42 kilometers, to do a ramp where you have to go very steep up, then across the road, like above the road, and then steep down.
Yeah, you went up like a ramp up to like a second level of a car park.
Yep. And then down. And because this is not only this year's solution, I've heard about this being there before. People have told stories of when it's wet, the ramp gets really slippery. Apparently this year they used some kind of like a thing on the top.
Yeah, there was like a grit on it. Because, we talked about it beforehand. You were really nervous that what if it was raining, and especially when it was snowing and things, what would it be like?
Yeah. And then also, people have been shown to fall down on the down part because like their muscles are so tired. So they just like get speed up going down and then lose it when they have to go back to straight. So I was quite nervous. But what really helped me is you, because you met me at the ramp and you ran with me on the ramp telling me hills are easy for you. Hills are easy for you. And we just ran up together. And there was this guy that most of my run, I later looked at the videos that Jeremy took of me while I was running. Jeremy's my husband. And that guy was around me the whole race. Apparently we ran together without realizing. So he was going up the ramp when you met me and he was struggling. And then you started yelling at me, hills are easy for you. And he just got also motivated. So he also sped up when we both sped up the ramp. And then you left me on the ramp. I went down. He went down with me in front of me. He started sprinting. Then I was like, hell no. So nothing motivates me more than overtaking a man in any race, bike or running. And so I overtook him and I flew past him and then I finished quite strong. So the last 2 kilometers were actually the best 2 kilometers of the race, even though it was quite hard. But, like I get the same with bike racing. Like at the end, I realize I still have some energy and then I use all of it.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to push the last bit out.
Yeah.
I was really struggling. I hit the wall at 30K right when we went into that loop. And I really struggled. I know now that I was under fueling and I was using a certain type of gel and it just wasn't really giving me what I needed. That's when you hit the wall because of that. You've been under fueling, and fueling is super important to your training plan, and it's something you should not ignore. We've already talked a little bit about gels in some other episodes.
And we will talk about it more.
Yeah, for sure. And I just knew that I was struggling. And so I started doing a lot of walking. And then I would run and I would walk. And I had a similar thing. A woman, she'd always kind of been around. And I know she was Dutch. She was wearing an orange shirt. And at some point I was walking and I don't know what she said to me, but she looked at me in Dutch. She was saying,
she looked at me in Dutch.
And whatever she was saying, I knew it was something like, come on, you can do this. Like, let's do it together kind of a thing. So I ended up running 2K with her. And then I just couldn't hold on again and I fell apart. But then, the last 2 kilometers, you go back right into the center of the city. And so Eindhoven Marathon has a lot of spectators and a lot of them are drinking and you kind of loop through the center part of the city. And I was hitting the 5-hour mark, because of all the walking I needed to do. And, the crowds of drinking were getting larger and larger, which meant that the pathway for the runners was getting narrower and narrower. It was only about 1.5 meters wide at one point. Also, I didn't mention, but this is important to know, is my name was on my bib, which I did not want. Because people were shouting my name all the time, which when I was in a bad state of mind, they were saying, come on, Ashley, you can do it. And I was hearing like, you're an idiot, Ashley. Like, you can't do this, because I was in this bad state of mind. No one was saying those things to me, but I was just so negative when I hit the wall that I was thinking that. So it was really difficult for me. But, so we're getting closer. We're getting towards the end. And now it's like 1 kilometer left. And I was like you, I had this sudden burst of energy. So I looked at the end, my splits, which is the kilometer per kilometer that you're going, towards the end of the race, like the last 5K, I was running them at around 7 minutes, 30 seconds per kilometer. My last kilometer I ran at 5 minutes, 35 seconds. I took off. I was the speed of heat. I was flying. And all of these drunk people are within a meter of me going, Ashley, Ashley, Ashley. And I felt like I was in a movie and I couldn't believe what was going on. There's crowds of people screaming my name, because also it's like post 5 hours. There's not a lot of people still running. Everyone that's running is struggling, and I'm just flying as fast as I can. And I see the curve and I think that we've reached the end, and I look and it's not there. And I shouted out loud, where the F is it? Looking for the end. I just was running as hard as I possibly could. I just never thought I was going to make it. And then finally I crossed the line, and I have, we should post it on our Instagram. I have an amazing video my friend took of me eating a post-run banana, with just nothing left in my bones. But I finished.
Yeah.
I finished it in 5 hours and 17 minutes. It was around 45 minutes slower than I thought that I would be.
But that's, I guess, it's quite a common thing with marathons, that you don't know how it's going to be.
You have no idea how it's going to go. You really don't. I mean, I think, because I was even talking to someone who also ran Kolnish Marathon, and I follow him on Strava, and his average pace for all of his runs begins with a 5. I mean, he's a speedy guy, and his marathon pace, or his marathon time, is not that far off of what my second marathon time is. And we were talking, and the thing he said to me was, I felt amazing. Like at 15K, I was going along. He's like, I had no idea what happens after 30 kilometers.
Yeah, because all of your training runs go to 33, and that's it. And then that's the dead zone.
That's it. And he was like, the mental and emotional change was something he was not prepared for at all. I think that's such an interesting thing to factor in, because if you're going to choose to run a marathon, like I said, it's going to be hard. And the mental and the emotional portion of the run are the hardest part of all, because you just do not know what is going to happen to you.
A marathon is also, it is a athletic thing that you do, but it's a lot more psychological than athletic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think, because we're mostly talking about running our first race, but I wanted to mention a couple things from running Cape Town as my second race. I also want to mention too, before that, so the minute that the race finished, for Camilla, I gave her a flapjack.
Yeah.
And I said, eat this. And she said, I don't want it. And I said, I don't care. Eat it. I found that it's really good with you. I just tell you what to do.
I just listen.
Because I knew you were, because I had said the same thing to my friends. I had said, look, when the marathon is over, take me to eat. Do not ask me where I want to go. Do not ask me if I have an opinion. Take me somewhere. Yeah. And that's it.
I remember when I finished, someone asked me what I want to do, and I said, I would like to lay down here. And then you're like, no, you gotta go.
No, we're gonna go into the mall and get you a hot chocolate. Yeah. And I gave you that bar, and I was just like, just eat it.
I hated that bar, but it was so good that I ate it.
But that's the thing, because you can't even think, and you just have to do. But then, so she's standing there eating that bar, and she said, I'm never doing this again. And I looked
the whole run in my head, I only have to do it once. Just this time. Never again.
And she goes, I'm never going to do it again. And I looked at her husband and I went, we'll see. And then 2 hours later, we were driving home, And I sat up front with your husband, and you sat in the back, stretched out. And then you said, next time I'm gonna such and such. And I just elbowed him a little, and we looked at each other. It was 2 hours. 2 hours later, you said next time.
It's like, when women say that they forget the the childbirth pains. I feel it's similar.
2 hours later, next time I'm going to do this. Next time I'm going to do that.
Apparently, the first time I ran a half marathon, I have also said it. I don't even remember saying that I will never do a half marathon again. Apparently I did. Jeremy says I did. No memory of it.
Well, during Cape Town, because I was talking to a woman afterwards, because I wanted to mention it because of the things that I kind of learned from it. But one of them was somewhere in the middle. I was telling this woman the story after, and I said, yeah, why am I doing this? I'm just going to run half marathons from now on. And she goes, oh my God, I said the same thing. So we all have the same exact thoughts while we're doing it. But so differences then going into Cape Town. One, I'd been running longer. As I'd been running because there was a year and a half almost between my two runs. So I realized that I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. But I still had problems. So I felt a lot stronger. I had gel problems the second time as well, that I had to break through. And it was a hillier course, so I had to be more prepared in that respect. So there were things I had to do that I think were really important. The gels again, because I wanted to mention how important gels really are, because my gels on Cape Town Marathon, so now I'll just kind of talk about it for a few minutes. I used the same gels that I had used in Eindhoven. That's what I was used to. I continued to use them. I understood that I needed to eat more of them than I had been. And I think I mentioned this in another episode where somewhere in the middle of the run, I decided that these were the worst things I'd ever eaten in my life, and I was never going to eat another one ever again.
Mid-run.
And I didn't know what to do. So I don't, when some people have toilet issues in the middle of a marathon, I don't get that. Anytime that I don't feel well, I feel nauseous. So I was running along just feeling nauseous. And I thought to myself, okay, I need to change it up. What can I do? I need to find it another way. And the only thing I knew was that they were serving Coca-Cola at all of the rest stops, the drink stops. So I did the opposite of what you're supposed to do, which is nothing new on race day. And I decided to switch to Coca-Cola. So at the next...
And you have never had Coca-Cola in your runs?
I never drank Coca-Cola on a run. I actually thought before the marathon that it was such a weird thing. Why would they have Coca-Cola?
I find it very, very good on my rides. If I have a Coke before my ride or mid my ride, I feel like I get wings. I just feel so much better because of the caffeine and the sugar.
Yeah.
But I have never tried on running because my stomach is so sensitive already. So putting caffeine and bubbles in, I think would be a suicide.
I mean, that's what I thought, and I thought it was mental, but I was I have to go with it. So that's what I did for 15 kilometers. Every 3 kilometers, I drank 200 milliliters of Coke. I drank 2 shots of Coke and maybe a water. And that's what I did for the rest of the run.
And how did you feel?
And I was okay. And people thought I would be buzzing from all the caffeine, but I wasn't, because I think I just burned it off. I mean, that's not scientific. I just think I just burned it all off. It was just gone. But on the second time, when I had those struggles, and I did have to walk a little bit, I was able to now say to myself, why are we walking? Out loud, why are we walking? Your body is capable of doing this. What is the problem? Let's troubleshoot. Let's find the problem. Let's solve the problem and move on. And I was able to do that. So one time I was it's hot. The sun is beating down on me. I just got passed by a guy juggling. That happens out there.
At least he wasn't wearing a fridge suit.
Yeah, at least he wasn't wearing the fridge, which is the guy from England, which is, unbelievably amazing and admirable, but, soul crushing for the other people.
Every single race I've done so far in my life, I am not lying. Every single race, whenever I'm struggling, there's an old man that always overtakes me. This happened now in that park at 35 kilometers. I was struggling, but I was I'm still doing it. And this gray-haired, humped back old man overtook me, and I'm for God's sake.
Yeah, and then it happens. Yeah, so a guy juggling passed me on the marathon. Everyone was screaming and shouting. I didn't understand what was happening, and then from the corner of my eye, I saw him approach. He was juggling and just going right along fine. Okay, great. So I had those problems, but I persevered through it. People towards the end were, there was another part of it where it was very difficult. They call it the loop of death, which is that as you approach the beach, you have to run 5 kilometers down and turn around and run back. So you watch all of these people on the other side as they pass you. Then you have like another 1 to 2 kilometers to finish the race.
Is it that part where you start hearing the finish line, but you still have 7 kilometers to go?
You hear it. You can hear it. And you're like, no, I'm going the opposite direction of that. I'm running this way, not that way. Oh. Also, Cape Town was a no headphones policy, which I did follow because it was, I'd heard a lot on like Reddit that people would get disqualified and I didn't want to deal with that. But you had to go down the loop of death and then turn back around and then run to the end. And the end this time was so different than Eindhoven. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because you'd think that it would have another similar ending to the previous one, where I just sped up and I flew at this amazing pace and I crushed it. I fell apart at the last 2K at Cape Town. And I was really, really struggling. And I was doing a bit of jeffing, walking and running. And I couldn't do it. And I was down to 1 kilometer left. And I just couldn't do it. And I started walking again. And I said out loud, like, what are we doing? Like, what is the problem? You have 1 kilometer to go. You've run 1 kilometer thousands and thousands of times. You've run 1 kilometer thousands and thousands of times. If I look at my Strava, I run over 2,000 kilometers a year, roughly. So I thought to myself, 1 kilometer, you've run 1 kilometer thousands and thousands of times. And that's what I started saying out loud. And I was running along, and every few seconds I would say, you can do this. You run 1 kilometer before. You run 1 kilometer thousands and thousands of times. Thousands and thousands of times. And I just kept saying that until I got to the end. You've run 1 kilometer thousands and thousands of times. And I pushed myself through to get there. And when I got to the end, I cried this time. I couldn't believe it. Last time I had the banana, which I'll share. This time I was crying my eyes out. And then I found out later that day that 2 minutes before me, Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest marathon runner of all time, his wife finished the marathon, her first marathon, and he was with her on the finish line, and I missed them by 2 minutes.
Oh man.
So that was the end of that.
No, but I guess it's also interesting, because you would expect, okay, I've run a marathon, so the second time I know what to expect. I know how it will look like. I get tired at 30 kilometers, and then the last 2 I get energized again, because that's usually how I go in races. And then you're a perfect example of how you don't know.
You don't know. You really don't.
Fall apart in all these weirdest places, and you were mentally prepared. You knew what to expect. You were a lot better prepared, mileage wise. And it's just, you go and you find out things about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I actually I finished the second one at 4:31.
Good job.
So I took 47 minutes off my time, something like that.
Pretty insane.
Yeah. So it was okay, but yeah, they were completely different experiences, and they were both hard, but they were both unique, and I learned stuff from both of them. And they're things that you can build into other races and just into your running in general over time. So I hope that this helps people kind of, maybe, I'm hoping, get motivated, learning that you got to find the right gels and make sure there's enough bathrooms.
Yeah, Google the marathon beforehand and check how many bathrooms you have.
And see, if it's the kind of thing that you want. If it's, if you want a race that's going to have lots and lots of people, you need to find that kind of race. But maybe you're the type that wants to be a bit more introspective and, do a race in the forest, then find that. You need to find the right thing for you that's going to make you the most comfortable.
Yeah, there's even trail marathons if that's your thing and you prefer running in nature and a little bit less concentrated on the pace, more concentrated on the experience itself, because trail marathons, who cares about the pace there?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's something for everyone. So we hope that we helped. And, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to us. You can get in touch with us on our Instagram at runningonempty_pod, or you could email us at hello.runningonempty@gmail.com. We'd love to talk more about our marathon experiences.
And thank you so much for listening. We hope you will rate, review, and subscribe to help get the word out. We'll be back next week with a new episode. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Okay, love you. Keep running.
Bye.
Bye.